Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today we're taking a plunge into Zebec Network. You probably know it as ZBCN. Now, the big question is, can this project really shake up finance with its whole real-time payments and asset tokenization thing? Or is this recent kind of wild price journey just, more crypto chaos? We've gathered a really interesting mix of sources for you today. I mean, everything from live trading feeds and social media buzz, right through to some pretty detailed financial analysis and those long-range price predictions. So our mission here is to cut through all that noise, trying to help you get a clear picture of ZBCN, its story, the tech behind it, and, well, its potential, help you make sense of it all. Okay, let's unpack this.
Yeah, and what's fascinating here, I think, is how ZBCN really mirrors the whole crypto space, doesn't it? You've got this mix of genuinely groundbreaking ideas, but also, a need for real caution, especially with how volatile things can be. We'll definitely be navigating that balance today.
Absolutely. And that balance is, well, it's what makes getting a handle on crypto so tricky sometimes, isn't it? So let's kick things off with the basics. What exactly is Zebec Network? What's it trying to fix? We know ZBCN is the token, but the network itself, they call it an AI-based PayFi and real-world asset RWA platform. The big idea seems to be making money move faster, more freely with these real-time continuous payments. But where does the AI fit in?
That's a really good question, because the AI-based part is, well, it's where Zebec is trying to push things forward. See, traditional payments, they often have delays, right? High fees, not much transparency. Zebec wants to tackle that using AI. Think about AI helping find the best routes for transactions, boosting security by spotting potential fraud before it happens, even making financial services more personal. Imagine AI streamlining your company's payroll automatically, or, say, optimizing how you dollar cost average into crypto. It's about making transactions smarter, not just faster. And if we look back a bit, Zebec Network didn't just appear yesterday. It actually started in 2021. Back then it was called Zebec Protocol, and it was built on the Solana blockchain.
Ah, okay. So it's got some history, but it's definitely changed.
Exactly. Then jump forward to March 2024. That's when they did the big rebrand of Zebec Network and launched the ZBCN token we know now. They did a 1-to-10 split with the token launch. The idea there was basically to make it feel more accessible. Yeah, create a bigger supply, lower price per token. Sometimes that helps lower the mental barrier for new people coming in. Now, the token itself, ZBCN, it's pretty central. It's used for governance, so holders get a say in how the network develops. It's used for staking, which helps secure the network, and you can earn rewards. It covers transaction fees, naturally, and can even be used as collateral in various DeFi applications. And you mentioned real-world assets, RWAs. That's a huge area right now. Basically, it's about taking tangible stuff like real estate, art, maybe commodities, even things like intellectual property, and turning them into digital tokens on a blockchain. The advantages are pretty clear. Way more liquidity because you can split assets up and trade them easily, opens it up to investors globally, and everything's tracked transparently on the blockchain. And it's worth adding, ZBCN is listed on major places like Binance, and it's got support from several brokers too. That definitely adds a layer of, let's say, growing legitimacy.
Okay, yeah, that context is super helpful. So we've got a decent picture now of what Zebec is aiming for and what the token does, but let's talk about the price action because, wow, it's been a real roller coaster, which, let's be honest, feels pretty standard for crypto sometimes. The sources we looked at showed some really different things happening with the price, which just underlines how fast things move and, frankly, how confusing it can get. Like, one recent source pointed to a massive dip. ZBCN down over 22% to about 0.00233. But then another source, maybe from a slightly different day, was reporting notable momentum, like a 12.5% increase. And here's where it gets really head-spinning. On July 14th, 2025, ZBCN was sitting at 0.00327, down about 3% in 24 hours. But just a few days earlier, July 9th, an analysis put the price at 0.0028 tenses, saying it had dropped over 60% from its yearly highs, and it gave a valuation of $250 million, which is way different from an earlier market cap figure we saw of around $405 million. So with all these conflicting numbers and times, what's the first thing someone trying to understand this should look for? Is it finding the right source or digging into why they're so different?
That's a sharp question. And yeah, it really gets to the core of trying to make sense of the crypto market. It's usually less about finding one single truth in the sources and more about understanding the market forces that cause these differences. These big swings, especially that recent crash, you can actually look at them through something called Wyckoff theory. It's this classic way of analyzing markets, basically looking at supply and demand cycles, often influenced by what the big players, the smart money, are doing. With ZBCN, you could see a pretty clear accumulation phase between roughly July 2024 and May 2025. The price was stuck in a tight band like 0.00085 to 0.001500. Volume was low, moving sideways. Classic signs of smart money quietly buying up tokens before everyone else notices.
Right, the quiet before the storm where the big fish are stocking up. Okay.
Precisely. Then that shifted into a really fast markup phase around late April. Suddenly there's high demand, everyone's got FOMO, fear of missing out, right? And boom, ZBCN shoots up over 876% in less than 2 weeks. Wild. But inevitably that was followed by the distribution and markdown phases more recently. That's when demand drops off, people start panic selling, and the price tumbles. That explains the decline we saw. The key thing here isn't just knowing the theory, but seeing how it reflects market psychology. If you understand these phases, maybe you can spot when smart money might be buying, or when that FOMO surge is maybe getting a bit too hot, and avoid getting caught in the panic selling yourself.
That definitely adds a layer of understanding. So if Wyckoff suggests accumulation, then markup, then distribution, does that mean we should expect more markdown? Or were there other things happening that could change the cycle?
Well, that's where the fundamentals, the actual news about the project, come into play and complicate that neat cycle. While Wyckoff might point towards more markdown, things like this potential super app or broader market trends, they can interrupt that pattern. It makes you ask, right, is this just a textbook Wyckoff cycle? Or is new positive news changing the game? For instance, that big price surge back in May 2025. It wasn't just market hype. There were concrete reasons. First, Zebec Network bought Science Card. That's a UK company dealing with university payment cards. That move pushed them right into the education finance sector. Big expansion. Second, they got backing from Uphold, the trading platform, and there was buzz about a potential link up with Ripple. Both those things definitely boosted investor confidence.
Okay, so real developments, actual use cases adding fuel, not just speculation.
Exactly. And looking ahead for potential catalysts that might cause a rebound. The developers are planning a Spaces event soon, like an online presentation, to lay out their plans for the rest of the year. There's talk they might announce this financial super app focusing on payments. Imagine one app for payment cards, payroll, maybe more. If they pull that off, that's a huge increase in utility. And then there's the bigger picture, the whole crypto market. People are anticipating another bull run, maybe kicked off if Bitcoin hits a new all-time high, or if the Federal Reserve starts cutting interest rates. Those kinds of macro events could lift everything, including ZBCN, potentially overriding a standard week-off markdown.
Okay, so it sounds like ZBCN's story is a perfect example of crypto's ups and downs. But let's look forward now. If some of these catalysts do ignite, how are the algorithms, the prediction models, seeing ZBCN's potential path?
Well, in the very short term, the models seem pretty cautious, actually. One prediction we saw suggests a potential drop, maybe around 25.6%, down to 0.00262 by mid-August 2025. That might signal short-selling chances for traders who are quick on their feet. But on the other hand, the highest predicted price very soon, like July 15th, 2025, was 0.003521. That'd be about 7.7% growth from where it was. So you see the kind of day-to-day churn even in the automated forecasts.
Yeah, even the computers can't quite decide what happens tomorrow. What about thinking a bit further out, longer term?
Yeah, looking further out, the algorithms do sketch out some clearer, though still quite wide potential paths. For the rest of 2025, the forecast generally put ZBCN trading somewhere between, 0.002397 and 0.003521. The average price prediction is around 0.002682. So continued swings, but maybe within that range. Moving into 2026, though, the outlook gets decidedly more bullish. The potential trading channel widens significantly, maybe between 0.02752 and 0.009778. The average prediction there is 0.0055523. And interestingly, April 2026 is specifically flagged as potentially the most bullish month, with a forecast showing a nearly 200% increase. So maybe some acceleration expected then.
Wow. Okay, that's a pretty significant potential jump. So if those kinds of predictions play out, where could ZBCN eventually land? Those big milestone questions, will it ever reach?
It's exactly the $1 million or maybe penny questions. Looking even further, say 2027 to 2030, the general trend predicted is still bullish. Prices could potentially climb towards 5015382 by 2030. Compared to today's value, that's like a 370% gain. Pretty substantial. Now, for those specific milestones everyone asks about, will it hit 1 cent, $0 for 1 cent? The model suggests maybe by December 2029. That would need about a 206% gain from current levels. What about 10 cents, 0.1 cents? That's predicted much further out, April 15th, 2050. That requires a massive, nearly 3,000% gain. And will it hit $1, $1? Well, according to these algorithms, no. The highest prediction by 2050 is around 0.11 cents or 12 cents. So the key takeaway from these predictions, I think, is that while they're just models, right, they do suggest a possible path of consistent, if maybe challenging, growth over the long haul. It implies an expectation that the network's fundamental value will grow, even if it doesn't hit those super high round numbers people dream about.
Okay, so maybe more slow burn than rocket ship. Got it. That gives us a sense of the predictions. Now, let's pivot a bit. How is the market actually feeling about ZBCN right now? What are the technicals and the overall sentiment telling us? The current sentiment is described as neutral, based on the technical indicators. Although, interestingly, there are more bullish signals, 18 of them compared to only 7 bearish ones. Seems a bit mixed.
It definitely is. And that kind of mixed signal is exactly why you need to look a bit deeper. Take the Fear and Greed Index, for example. It gives you a snapshot of the overall mood among investors on a scale of 0 to 100. 0 is extreme fear. 100 is extreme greed. Right now, ZBCN's score is 74. That puts it firmly in the greed zone. Now, on one hand, that shows positive sentiment, people are interested, but it's also a bit of a yellow flag. High greed can sometimes come before a market pullback, suggesting things might be getting a little overheated.
Okay. So what does this all mean when we look at the specific technical charts and indicators? How do these different signals kind of balance out for ZBCM?
Yeah, this is where traders really dig in. Let's look at the moving averages. They basically smooth out price data to show trends. The 50-day simple moving average, the SMA, for ZBCN is currently around $0.000049. That's actually flashing a sell signal for short-term traders, suggesting the recent price action has been weak.
Yeah.
However, the 200-day SMA, which looks at the much longer-term trend, is down at 0.001954, and that's indicating a BUY. So you have this classic tension, right? Short-term pressure. But the longer underlying trend that Zebec has built still looks positive according to that indicator.
That's a really important difference. What about other key indicators?
Well, the 14-day relative strength index, the RSI that measures how quickly prices are changing, it's sitting at 51.7. That basically confirms the neutral stance. It's not indicating the market is oversold, meaning it might bounce, or overbought, meaning it might fall. It's kind of in the middle. We also have key support levels to watch. Think of these as potential price floors where buying might step in. They're around 0.003239, 0.302,839, and 0.0002,576. On the flip side, resistance levels, potential ceilings where selling might increase are at 0.003901, 0.4165, and 0.004564. Knowing these levels can help you think about, potential entry or exit points.
Okay, so it's this really interesting mix. We've got the long-term 200-day average looking bullish, but the shorter-term 50-day saying sell, and the RSI just sort of shrugging in the middle. And this is all happening while the overall market feeling is leaning towards greed.
Precisely. And just to wrap up this section, if you look back, ZBCN has delivered profits. It increased by nearly 197% over the last year. And recently, 10 out of the last 30 days saw price increases green days. So there's a history of gains. But matching that greed score and the mixed signals, the overall technical forecast for 2025 is still considered neutral, which suggests we might see more sideways movement, more consolidation before any really big sustained breakout.
Right. And there you have it. That was our deep dive into Zebec Network. We've covered a lot of ground, really, from its potentially innovative AI-driven payment system and the whole real-world asset angle, through its pretty complex price history, that roller coaster driven by market psychology and real news, and looked at those future predictions, pulling it all together from all different sources we reviewed.
Yeah, and this really brings up an important question, I think, for you, the listener. In a market like crypto, that changes so incredibly fast, where one source might be talking about a huge dip and another, maybe from just a day later, is talking about a promising surge. How do you personally navigate that? How do you balance the fundamental news, the partnerships, the tech developments with these technical signals, the charts, the sentiment indicators to make decisions that feel informed for you? It really boils down to that old crypto mantra, always DYOR. Do your own research.